to be here with you today. If it's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's LinkedIn Live 7 days a week. I am so honored today to bring on a new guest, and I've gotten to know Brett Packard pretty well on a conversation. I am so impressed and in admiration of his successful experience, but just as importantly, of his intent and direction going forward. Everybody knows chat's open. This show is for everyone there to be as relevant and directed as we can. We'd love to follow your lead and help wherever we can to make this a great day where you can leave with maybe a few new connections, some more information, or just a step in the right direction. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brett. Brett, thank you so much for coming here today, and love to have you share a little bit about yourself.
Great, Donald. Good morning to you. Good morning to everybody here. Looking forward to hopefully a lot of heavy-duty engagement on whatever's on everybody's mind today. It'd be great to do that. So that's fantastic. But I'm happy to be here. I am a 59-year-old retired global banker, basically, and I've been kind of out of the corporate workforce for last 7 years, I guess, and for the last 7 years, I've been basically providing support to my wife on caretaking for her parents, and that, what does that involve? That involves doing laundry, hand washing dishes, and quite different than what I was doing living on airplanes and hotels, kind of flying across 30 countries over 30 years. And so I know a lot about culture, a lot about leadership. I'm an expert in taking large businesses and leading them through times of crisis. I went through the Asian financial crisis back in the late 1990s, went through, obviously, the aftermath of 9/11 during my 6 years in Japan. That happened early on in that assignment. And I was in the UK and the Middle East and Africa during the global financial crisis. So I've been through three really big ones where I had oversight responsibility for a lot of people. And basically what I do now is I help elite performers, people performing in the first decile, sustain that performance regardless of adversity in the external environment. Obviously, the most recent one is COVID. Another one that's impacting a lot of people would be inflation. So I basically apply what I've learned over those 3 decades around the world in different cultures to help people today. All of my postings on LinkedIn come from my journals. There's 89 books that I started jotting down daily concepts, learnings, lessons, painful, not painful, celebratory. You name it, I've got them in 89 books. And so I just basically derive my LinkedIn content from what I personally went through in the real world. And one thing I like to tell people about that is it doesn't mean that I handled it the right way. I had my fair share of handling things the wrong way. And a lot of times I'll post things that didn't go so well or may not be so popular, but yet they're a relevant lesson from the Middle East in the late, right just before 2010, different things like that. So that's a little bit about me, Donald, and I'll kind of stop right there and we can have people react to that.
Well, sounds great. I think that, Paul's here, and actually Paul is a regular. He's actually going to be the co-host tomorrow. Hi, Don. I've heard wonderful things about you, Brett. Excited to learn more from you. Paul is a young 26-year-old man who's wiser than the majority of people on here. He's been a great connector. Last week, he referred 5 people to me alone. So, this is a great way of interfacing with people who are on the ground, really doing something, making things happen with LinkedIn. I want to recognize Dean Dean's a great guy, always got a potato near him. He's got a lot of wisdom, and he just wrote me yesterday saying his internet connection out where he's at is strong now. So I'm excited for him. We've got Jamal here. Thank you. It looks like someone new. Always appreciate new guests. We've got Omar, great guy, was on the show a few weeks ago. Kim has been a regular for the last 2 weeks. Welcome, Brett. Thank you, Donald, for all you do. Well, thank you. It's all about you and the audience. Hi, Don. Okay, we've seen that. Alex is here. Hi, Alec. Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. You know, and the theme of the show is collaboration. And I think that's what we want to instill and encourage is people working together with each other. And where I see a lot of the opportunity for change and positive direction is peer-to-peer, right? Is being able to seek out people who are available to you, accessible to you, and somebody you already have learned to trust in order to collaborate. Because LinkedIn, for one thing, is such a big opportunity. No one by themselves can take full advantage of it without getting out of balance with something else. And my belief is niches are riches. And if you can focus on core competency and just continue to impact that message to relevant people who need to hear it. And, you know, like we've talked about in the past, failure is feedback. And if you're going to fail forward, right, to build on the lessons that you learn. So what were some of the important lessons you've learned in your career, Brett, that you could share and help others?
Yeah, I mean, I'll respond to that by maybe giving one that a lot of people don't think about rather than the typical ones. And I've had my fair share of those, but I would say that the one of the biggest ones early on in my career is the failure to anticipate what adversity maybe headed my way, right? And you know, and what I'm talking about with adversity are not situations that I create. I think we all create our own form of adversity from time to time, but these are situations in the external environment that maybe we have no control over. COVID being the most recent example, right? So what I really learned from all of that, Donald, is how do you prepare and strengthen your adversity quotient? AQ. We hear a lot about IQ, EQ. EQ seems to be the popular thing to talk about nowadays, especially on this platform. But I focus a lot on AQ and how can I strengthen my adversity quotient and how can I help other people strengthen theirs as well. And a lot of the factors that go into strengthening the adversity quotient go contra to some of the societal norms that we see happening today. One example is the blame culture, right? One of the worst things you can do for your adversity quotient is to blame yourself for something that's happening. The second worst thing you can do is to blame somebody else for what's happening. The blame game, it just doesn't, it doesn't really do anything to solve the issue. And maybe the third and powerful part of building a strong AQ is to understand that whatever you're facing is limited in scope and duration. We can deal with it as humans, and don't have a doomsday type of attitude that the world's going to end with this, because it probably, whatever we're dealing with, is probably not of cosmic importance. So I would say that's kind of my view on. You probably won't hear that view from a lot of people, and that's the one thing that I actually unintentionally built my reputation and legacy from, because I found that I was always getting thrown in and assigned to crisis. Say, Brett, come in and clean this up. Go in and fix this. And I had to learn how to do this. And I think subconsciously started to realize that, focusing on adversity quotient is a big thing that a lot of people need a lot of help with.
Well, it looks like Paul says AQ Brett, adding that to my notes. So that's a takeaway that Paul's decided to write down. And I believe obstacles are a test to see how committed you are to your goals.
Agreed.
Everything is a continuum, not an outcome, right? So it never ends. It just expands or extends into the next day. Paul says, okay, Kim says, welcome, glad you joined. Omar's here. Omar, Q for Brett, tell us about your 80 plus books you made. What points did you want to focus on? How did you come up with it? So tell us about your 80 books.
So there's a guy, Omar, there's actually Tony Robbins' mentor named Jim Rohn. Jim is no longer with us. He passed away several years ago. But Jim Rohn, I was fortunate enough to go to one of his live sessions back in the late 1980s. Fortunately, only 1 year into my career. And one of the things that Jim Rohn talks about is to don't trust your brain. Okay. So write it down. Don't treat I think what he says, something like, don't treat your brain like a filing cabinet. Write it down. So being the young, naive kid that I was, I just decided hey, I'll just write it down. And so I did that. And what I did is that when an event would happen, or an engagement would happen, or a crisis would happen, or something great would happen, I would jot down what it is, the date, and that's where you see on my LinkedIn post where it came from, when it happened. And if you think about it, this is something that anybody can do. Okay. And it's just really a way to document your life experiences as they happen in real time. And then one day you'll be able to refer back to that library, or somebody else will as well, and hopefully learn from it.
Well, that's great, because I had the opportunity to get to know Jim over a period of time, because we're involved in the same organization. It was first satellite network was 24 hours personal development and improvement. And Jim was one of the gentlemen, along with Brian Tracy and Les Brown and Nito Quabain and, all the greats, Roger Dawson, if you're in a negotiation. And what you realize is everybody's pretty much started where everybody starts, at the beginning, right? And what I'll say about most of these gurus or high-end personal development individuals, they had so many failures early. Brian Tracy never finished high school, went bankrupt 3-4 times along his career, but it's not, your past does never have to define your future, right? And failures aren't final. And I think it's the people who stretch, who move beyond the edge, that get themselves sometimes upside down, but that's the best view and the most exciting view. And, I think it's really just, like Brett had just said, trust your heart, trust your notes. Don't always trust your brain. Kim says, hi, Lillian. Paul's back with, I believe everything in life is a blessing and a lesson, and the blessing comes later. The challenge for most is delayed gratification. People live in this world where everything can happen in 8 seconds. You're so right, is why not buy some more balls to solve the puzzle? We talked yesterday about, Jenny's from Ireland, and her whole secret was have a cup of tea. Because in Ireland, no matter what it is, they say, would you like a cup of tea? Basically, that allows you to sit down, enjoy your tea, slow down, and you are, the game is always between you and yourself, and you make the rules for yourself. You pass judgment on yourself, and you also give yourself freedom. Good morning, Leonard. Thank you so much for support of my show yesterday. What's great is this is branching out, where people start here, become a co-host, then get their own show, then start doing shows with other people. And we're taking advantage of a medium that hardly anybody knows about on LinkedIn relative to 900 million people. So from an arbitrage situation, the numbers are totally in our favor because we're one person with a 900 million audience, but more importantly, banding together with 40, 50 people every day like us who support
Right.
each other. And now I'm tagging 100 people a day and I'm getting 100 responses a day, right? So, and that builds amplification of the content. So I think there's two things. People have to work on their story and their content, but content without relevant audience is talking to yourself, right? Or practicing for the day you get an audience. Lillian says, Omar, good morning. Les Brown is awesome. Yeah, I got to know Les Brown. He was in the group too. It was really the best of the best. And we used to meet in Dallas every 3 months. And it was 3 days of nonstop people like Les Brown there being available. It was great. There wasn't a lot of money to be made, but there was a lot of good to be done. And when you're around, I've been in mediocre situations with great people and they always worked out great. I've been in great situations with mediocre people and they always ended up mediocre because it's not where you start, it's how you come together and build as a collective, right? And everybody brings something to the picnic and then it becomes more fun. So what's your thoughts with all this activity coming in and interest in yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's great. And I'd like to talk a little bit about leadership and because I believe that we're all placed here in this world to be leaders, not followers. And, people can debate that point, and I'm sure that the universities would be the first to debate that point as well. But I learned, Donald, over the years that leadership is really something that it's a lot. I spent a lot of time in Africa, in Southern Africa, down in 6 countries down there. And a lot of it's like a village, right? And a leader's role is to ensure a thriving village. And that involves not just their employer, their teams themselves, but their families as well, right? And so then you start getting into, are you compensating, in a fair manner what the market, should compensate? And to me, when you add it all up, leadership is all about how you make people feel. And it's creating that environment so that everybody can perform at their own potential. And Donald, your potential is different than my potential. We were created that way, and that's okay. How I define success is different than how you define success. So I believe leadership is really about the ecosystem and what can you do to enable all the people around you, whether they work for you or not, to perform at their potential. And this would solve a lot of problems that we have in today's society if people would really subscribe to this definition. Throw out the textbooks from grad school. They don't work in the real world. Some concepts do. But this definition of leadership is holistic and touches on the root cause. It addresses the root cause of what we see going on in the real world now, which is you've got a lot of people just refusing to work or refusing to give 100%, and they kind of sit on the sidelines. And but it really comes down to how humans engage with one another and respect the fact that that everybody's potential is different.
Yeah, that's terrific. We're getting all kinds of input here. We've got Vipin from Dubai.
Vipin. Yeah, Vipin and I used to work together in the Middle East. Vipin, great to see you.
Well, that's so terrific because this brings people back, but brings them back to today in real time with real conversation with real people who are thinking in the moment and for the moment. And that is such a contrast to the opaqueness of the ability to now change words without even someone being involved with it. I mean, so I think people are wanting to get back to authentic, old-fashioned principles of community collaboration. Linda, who's a great individual, comes here every day too. It is learning from each but better to be more. Another opinion can give a new thought to add to yours. Paul says, I hope everyone realizes how powerful this show is. Man, I would love to co-host with Brett. So many bombs being dropped. It's your feedback that makes what we're doing not only easier, but more satisfying, because we don't know unless someone tells us, like you don't know unless someone tells you how you're doing. And the beauty of this, it's all honest, new eyes and ears, right? No one's got any skin in the game, and no one has to say anything if they don't feel like it and feel like applying it. And by people sharing this much, it opens up for more people to want to share. And most of the answers or feedback are things that you've been thinking about. Everybody woke up today with certain questions, right? With a little bit of confusion. This is an opportunity to put it out there and say, does anybody have any experience with this? We've got Christabella. I love your name, Christabella. I've seen you here many times. Everybody's liking everybody. Don, you always have the edge on me. I have no desire to meet the influence of my age demographic. Well, we learn from each other, and everybody's only as good as their next thought or their next whatever comes out of their mouth. That makes you relevant or irrelevant.
That's right.
Paul says, I think Brett needs to be a regular. Well, thank you for your endorsement.
Thank you for that. Yep.
Linda says, absolutely down, bringing more to the table, neighbor helping neighbor, and generations shared experience and even tips and learning can make a difference in self-care and life needs, or any add ideas to consider. Yusuf is here. Hey back. Dean, rising tides lift all ships, leadership. Paul, my grandpa told me experience will always be your greatest teacher. Well, your grandpa was very wise, and I'm glad you remember that. Jim L says, looking for a job. I believe to be a great leader, you need to know how to serve. Well, yesterday's topic or the day before was give to get, right? You got to prime the pump. You got to take initiative. Being proactive is such a head start on waiting for something to happen or waiting for somebody to show up. You know, that's going to happen anyway. Whatever you do is independent of that. So why not, back yourself up by going after the people you think you can bring the most value, because that's what they're thinking of is what's in it for me.
Correct.
Most people look, hey, who can give me the most value? But there has to be a reciprocal benefit in order for that to encourage people. Valerie, Don, and Sir Brett Packard, good morning to both of you. This is fantastic to see two greats in the business live. I'm excited to have a fantastic day ahead. Leadership is an awesome subject. No one can be better than you both in mentoring great leaders. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Valerie, my friend. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, it takes a special person to go out of their way and acknowledge somebody else, right? I mean, it's an easy thing to do, but it's almost a rarity because too much focus is on oneself, right? And the focus should be outside of you, right? To bring things to you and make you more attractive to it. If serving is below you, then leadership is beyond you. Well, that's a lovely thought.
Good point, Paul. Yep.
Paul's, yes, so true. Comments are never stopping. Very insightful, Brett, regarding journaling and notating business challenges and experience. Your record for handling crisis and process improvement was invaluable. Well, that's terrific. Donald Coach, good morning. Have an awesome day. Best regards. Wonderful to see you. My mentor, Sir Brett Packard. Vipin is both of you have so much experience. I'm sure you have come across almost all of the problems a life organization throws at you, and you would have come out of them with flying colors. Well, what I learned early, the bigger the people problems you solve, the more successful you become, right? So if you can work through, bring people together, and what I found is doing all you can, the best you can when you can, not keeping score, not saying I gave my 50, I'll wait for the other 50. To me, it's if I got to give 90 to get it done, let's just do it, learn from it, because everybody gets more whole when everybody completes something together.
Right.
And that goes back to what you're saying with the blame game, Brett. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say you said two words that about 5 minutes ago that are incredibly powerful, Donald. Relevant and irrelevant. And I think what I see in these comments coming through and a lot of what you're saying, the underpinning of a person's success really does boil down to their relevance, right? Their relevance to themselves and their relevance to those around them. And then there's also the flip side of the coin, right? You've got irrelevance, right? So you've got an example of irrelevance might be a micromanager, to simplified example, right? Another example of irrelevance would be a bully. Okay, somebody with inappropriate behavior, they're irrelevant to the human beings around them, their success. But on the relevant side, a lot of it really boils down to what kind of difference are you making to the environment so that other people can perform. It's not about you doing the job for people that you're around, which is where a lot of people kind of get on the wrong track. But for example, back to the village analogy that I gave earlier in Africa, a great leader will teach somebody how to fish, how to catch fish. They won't just catch the fish for their team. Okay, so a lot of it is teaching, showing, doing, providing the fishing pole, the fishing line, the bait, and the instructing how to do it that way. And then moving on, once you've trained people how to do that, moving on to show people how to cook the meal as well and how to prepare it. And then we can all eat together, right? And so a lot of this is perspective around having the right perspective around, are you relevant and what have you done to help to enable the people around you to be the best they can be? I just wanted to kind of get that in there, Donald.
Yeah. No, I think it's very valuable and important. Yeah. I mean, to Ambimbola, who's in Nigeria and has come every day for the last, since she started, leadership is create a conducive environment for employees to give in their best and perform optimally. And you know what I found in business and in life, you know, when I started out in the retail, and I always had a motto, make a friend, then make a sale, right? Get to know the person, get to appreciate the person. And most people don't get recognized. Most people don't get complimented. And it's like I say, it's so easy to do. And if it's sincere and authentic, I mean, when people used to come in my store, I noticed their belt buckle, right? Or I noticed their pickup truck and how what they did to it and how beautiful it looked. And I know that was pride and joy, especially their kids, if they brought them in. You know, it was just that disarming, like, I'm okay, you're okay, no one's going to get hurt, you know? So now we can be comfortable. And most people need to be the one, again, to put their hand out, to really have a conversation with people. You know, my business, I had to interview everybody because I wanted to know everybody and who everybody else was going to get to know. With that said, Paul's got lots of stuff. He's becoming your number one cheerleader here. Let me see what we've got here. If we go up, these things are coming in. Let me just start here. Oh my. Hello. That, you know, glad to have you. Paul had just just done that. Are you relevant? What have you done to enhance those around you? And here's the thing: you need to be relevant to yourself to be relevant to someone else.
You do. Yeah, and I just like to add to that. I had one of my greatest bosses of all time back in the 1990s in San Francisco. His name's Herb Myers, and Herb used to tell us, and this resonated with me throughout my career. It actually wound up impacting tens of thousands of people. This concept is quite simple: is that we all have to eat, and we all consume food, and we all put food on the table, right? So the question is, as a leader, are you putting more food on the table than you're consuming? Okay. And that's really how a leader should look at themselves as well. Sure, you can eat, but are you just taking, or what are you putting more on the table for others than you're consuming yourself, right? And that's a very powerful concept when you think about it, because it forces you to think about the impact that you're having on other people's lives.
No, and I say that
Yeah.
all the time, and it's kind of funny how we come to the same, let's say, sayings or
Mhm.
viewpoints and
Yep.
perspective. Leave the log pile bigger than you found it every day.
Right.
Leave people better than you met them.
Hmm.
Because it's a gift you have, and people need to know you're willing to share it because you model behavior, right? That's leadership,
Right.
is getting
That's right.
people to do things they wouldn't or couldn't have done without you, but also give them reasons to see it's the better way. Instead of being
Right.
my way, it's your way, our way, their way, and that's where the win-win-win can show up,
That's
right?
right.
And if people are
Exactly.
making money with and for people instead of off of people, right? If people are
Right.
taking responsibility, being accountable, you've got to be the model that you're hoping to encourage and develop. Linda says, great conversation, Brett. Many same thoughts. Thanks for being on with Don today. Can't just take, need to share and give back and impact around you.
Mhm.
That speaks to
Yep.
the analogy of going to a picnic, right? You go to a picnic and everybody should or will bring something. And everybody knows what everybody brought. Was it the cheap potato salad? Was it a really nice baking
Right.
block? It was a premium piece because too many people are stepping over dollars to pick up pennies and they're majoring
Right.
in the minors. And for a
Right.
little more, they don't embarrass themselves. Most people don't know protocol, don't know best
Right.
practices, especially when it comes to relationship building. There's just been too much emphasis on technology, and now it's swinging back to that being a
Yeah.
treasured art in the past. What's your thoughts, Brett?
Yeah. Well, that's a really relevant topic, especially this week with the news that probably hopefully most people are seeing about the AI.
Mm-hmm.
And even yesterday there was big news that you've got Elon Musk and Mr. Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, that are calling for a pause or a slowdown in programming of that for 6-month period. Well, I think a lot of it, you're right. In the digital age, things are moving so rapidly, and there's great benefits like what we're able to do right now is come to you live and engage with people from around the world, right? However, my perspective on all of this is that human to human engagement and interaction is still at the end of the day going to be most valued, right? And appreciated, including the mistakes. Okay. Maybe AI in the future, it probably won't make mistakes, right? But mistakes, who really defines what a mistake is, right? If you're 100% accurate, I don't think I want people around me that are 100% accurate all the time. I want people that have flaws, because you mentioned at the onset of this program that your failures, you obviously can learn from your failures. And so human to human engagement, there are feelings for one another. You're not going to get that through AI. And people are in for a big disappointment if they think they're going to just get smarter and they're going to be happier all of a sudden. Need to be careful about that, because conversations like we're having right now, I think, will be much better than conversing with a robot. What do you
Well,
think about
I
that?
think
Yeah.
it's our natural DNA is to be
Yep.
social, to be affected by people, to
Right.
affect people. And
Yep.
I always say I learned more on the way down than I ever learned on the way up.
Right.
On
Oh, yep.
the way down, you get qualities like being humble, being modest, not being so presumptuous, not thinking you're so good or smart, but knowing you could be just like anybody else or circumstances beyond your control, and having an attitude of gratitude, knowing that some people are going through things that could use a helping hand, a kind word.
Right.
When
Their
we're talking
feelings, right? Yep.
exactly, and that's when we're talking about relevance, is how relevant are you to the person next to you when they're dealing with something you don't
Right.
understand or you're
Right.
not aware of, and they're a teacher then. See, so either you learn or you teach or you get both when you're communicating and sharing openly.
That's right. Hmm.
Paul says there's a couple cool comments. Well, Charles is here from Hong Kong. Thank you, Charles.
Hey, Charles.
Charles, you're welcome anytime if you want to show up or come on. Valerie says, I would go metaphorically further. Did you help prepare and serve the meal? Even further still, did you harvest the garden's growth?
Yeah, great.
And it's really appreciating where something came from, because so many people take things for granted. Like I say, a few weeks ago, I was eating my blueberries with my oatmeal, and I just studied the blueberry for a minute and said, what was your origin here? Someone had to plant you and pick you. Someone had to put you on a take it to a warehouse, take it to a store, allow me to buy it. And there's so much to everything. And so many people I see look up instead of down. They forget where they came from. They forget where other people are, and all they do is look for more. And, I always found people who think money's the answer never had money, because if they get enough money, they know it helps. But the game, again, is between you and yourself. How rich are you within yourself? How rich are you with the people around you? Because that's your real security. What do you say, Brett?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about money for a second. And I grew up in the 1970s, right? Kind of my formative years as a child. And my dad said something to me one day that guided me for the rest of my career. And he basically said, Brett, radio was big then, and so was television, but radio was really big. He said, Brett, what's amazing is that there are thousands of radio signals from different stations, including overseas via shortwave radio, falling into our backyard. All we need is an antenna and a receiver, and we can tune into them. And that was a big deal back then. Now with the internet, may not be that big of a deal, but I want to tell this story because what he was basically saying is that put up an antenna and attract what you would like to have. Well, leadership, what I learned by doing is that leadership is the same way, and money's the same way. So you asked about money. So don't chase money. The scammers, the fraudsters, the bad people of this world, the thieves, what they do, they're always going after money. Okay. Great leaders, what you do is you put up your antenna, you are relevant. Going back to our conversation at the start of this session, Donald, you said it very well, is you install your antenna, and money's something you attract. It's secondary. If the moment that you make money primary, you're going to have to start battling things like greed, like taking from other people, and that is not the way to build long-term wealth. Okay, so you build long-term wealth by basically being relevant, putting up your antenna, adding something of value to the marketplace, and the money will come. It will come. You don't, by chasing money, you're not going to have money for very long. Okay, you're either going to be thrown in jail. Sam Bankman-Fried, the FTX crypto guy, he's probably going to be behind bars for a long time. He was chasing a lot of money. Okay. Put up the money. Elon Musk is a great example. Install your antenna, do something relevant, and you will attract money. Apple, the world's either first or second most valuable company, do something of value. Do the iPhone. A lot of people forget what the I in iPhone means. Internet phone. They found a way, Steve Jobs found a way in his team to put the internet in your hand, right? That was transformational. That's putting up an antenna and attracting money.
Well, I think, history has a way of gaining insights because, I'm a little older than you, and everything needs to be applied to context, right? Everything is what it is, but what does it all relate to? And if you have context and understanding and direction and trends, and the other thing is, if you really want to be successful, you got to figure a way to get happy. If happy isn't part of your plan, if learning isn't part of your plan, if you can't take the results every day and say, well, I learned something here, met somebody there, got better at
Right.
this, little things that compound properly become very significant things over time. And it's that one brick at a time, one step at a time. Enjoy the journey. Too many people are rushing to get somewhere. And when they get somewhere, they're rushing to go somewhere else. And they're always, they say, if you don't know where you're going, you're probably already there. Let's talk about Paul. I believe now more than ever, empathy and human connection is a differentiator.
It is. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Human to human interaction is indeed key, Brett. Learning experiences, it's a harvest and a buffet of value that people can now redirect their time, thought, actions, and relationships that make it more relevant to who they are now, where they want to go later. If only everyone would measure their success as impacting others and helping others maximize their potential, the world would be a better place. And that's why peer-to-peer is so important. We can help each other right now. Don't wait for the government. Don't wait for institutions. And we're talking internationally, right? So we have a passport to everywhere.
Yeah, it's global, right? It's global. It's being relevant peer-to-peer globally. What more could you ask for, right? And you can do so in an instant. You can impact, hopefully you and I and everybody contributing here, which these are awesome comments, by the way, are impacting other people around the world that can hear just a little tidbit of what we're talking about. Could save them stealing what Jim Rohn used to say. It could save you years in your current endeavor, right? If one concept that peer-to-peer shares globally could save somebody 5 years in their life, tell me that's not impact, right?
Well, in today's world, everything ripples through everybody you know. And the beauty of a show like this, it's real time with real people who are now able to access individuals they may never have met in countries they may never have visited. And now it becomes a global community, and a community that doesn't have a limit in their ability to interact in real time if you choose to. I mean, everybody's got the key to the lock that's holding them back, right? And if they can apply it to communication, to conversation like we're doing, anytime someone says gratitude, my soul gets on fire, talk about my language. Valerie, yes, appreciation, yes, skin in the game.
Love that. Yep.
They want to alter us thinking and having AI directing us to the maker's thought and way they want things. So AI has great opportunity to give ideas and teach, not control thoughts.
Yep. Right.
Jitendra, how rich are you within yourself?
Yep.
Says hello, everyone. Hello. Lillian is here. Lillian's a regular. It's nice to know each other and greet each other. If we don't understand our value and wealth of being, I don't believe any amount of money will be enough.
Right.
Paul comes back with, they absolutely agree. Christabel, I switched my currency to impact and time. Do the thing and you get the benefit. Great conversation, Jasmine says.
Hi, Jasmine. Yep.
Oh, so you know Jasmine? Well,
yeah,
great.
She's from Sweden. Absolutely. She's a wonderful person.
Well, I'm so happy you took the time today, Jasmine, to check out the show. And, I want everybody to see people on the right-hand side, connect with the people that you're aligned with, reach out, these golden opportunities. Kim Wheatley Morris says, I believe money is a flow. We realize our value, contribute value, and obtain value in various ways. Douglas, new name for me.
Hey, Douglas. I know Douglas. Yep.
Oh, great. See, everybody's helping each other. It's so interesting about LinkedIn. I know someone who's doing pretty much a lot of what I'm doing. I've got 36,000 connections. They've got 31. Only about 1,800 are similar. So when you combine,
there you go.
Right? Everybody,
right.
I'm going to pick up 30,000 people possibly who never knew me, and Brett's going to pick up 36,000. And by combining the stream to go to our own streams is going to expand that, because we're on a powder keg here. You know, we're sitting not only with people, but these people are front doors to their networks. So,
well, I think you're right, Donald. And, you know, I mean, for example, for those that don't know, I know a lot of people on here, your regulars do know this, but for those that don't know, is that this is Donald's live program. I've joined it, but I also we're using a program called Restream. And I'm currently streaming this to my LinkedIn channel simultaneously. So my entire network, this is going out to my network, which probably hasn't met Donald before as well. So there's so many things you can do to just put arms and legs on opportunity. And this is certainly one of them.
Yeah. And, you know, it makes it so much easier and more comfortable to be conversational. Valerie wanted to make sure that I mentioned this. I'm able to connect here my formulas: resilience, intention, action, concept. You know, having a little definition goes a long way, because to Brett's point, I know Brian Tracy had a experience where at the beginning of the year, he'd write down 10 things he wanted to accomplish, put it in a drawer and never look at it, and come back to it a year later and found out 7 or 8 of those he achieved. And, you know, just the power of looking at something makes it real, you know.
It does.
And that's so important. Paul, let me see if we covered this. Okay, let me get to Linda. Love options have had in my life to connect to people around the world, and loving being with a company working to still open more countries to add to long list of countries working to share and make more possible. And love community, we are growing here. Well, you know, communities have been around since people have been walking the earth.
Right.
And people have depended on building communities for strength, for support, and for the ability to share with others. You know, one good thing about what Brett brings and what I bring is a lot of experiences that maybe people can learn from without having to go through, right? You talk about saving somebody 5 years. If someone knew they were stepping over a cliff before they did it, you know, what harm could you avoid? And then how do you redirect that to something beneficial? Valerie says, posted Baltimore, that workplace is number 5 leading cause of death. You know, nothing is what it used to be, you know?
Yeah.
And like I say, I have a little bit more time and experience. And I remember times when you could walk outside your door, leave your door open, and you never thought twice about it. You know, that the first thing you do as a kid is get out of the house, and no one cared where you were unless you didn't come home for dinner. And now everybody is so protective, defensive, and for mostly good reasons. But when you can get rid of that armor, when you can start thinking of opportunity and taking action versus protection, everything starts changing again. And what I love about LinkedIn Live, it's the lifeboat off of the Titanic, where you got 900 million people in the crowd trying to distinguish and differentiate themselves, and they're not getting visibility, right? If you can get above everything and not only do it, but by your intention and your actions. So the good thing about seeing me and Brett today is what you're seeing is exactly what's there. You know, there's nothing phony about it, you know, and I've been doing this 210 days in a row. So if I was living a lie, you know, and I've never tried to sell anything or promote anything, I'm trying to keep it pure and use that as an example, because it's not just the show, it's the curation of the show. It's the guests we bring on. It's the audience that makes it all happen. To this point, just came as Montessori edge, I should say that there are many takeaways even for teachers. We would re-describe what leadership means in education. Thank you for showing us new perspectives. Well, what do you say about that, Brett?
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's to see a reaction to this program from somebody hasn't tuned in before. That's why we do this, right? And I think it makes a big difference. And I just like to say something else that I think LinkedIn Live also provides an opportunity in real time to learn how to become a better critical thinker. Because this is not the television. This is not a media outlet that maybe is reporting on a narrative. These are real people on the ground maybe they've read some media, they watch some media, what have you. But these are real people that speak openly in real time on what's on their mind. Donald, you and I, just for those new here, we didn't rehearse what we're going to talk about today. We said, let's just get on and talk, right? And that's what we're doing here. So critical thinking is something that God gave all of us as a human being to be able to do. But a lot of societal norms today actually discourage critical thinking. Okay. So I would encourage everybody to view LinkedIn Live as a way to build those critical thinking skills, which will make you a better person, a more effective leader, a better friend, and you probably won't have as many foes if you're able to sharpen your critical thinking skills.
Well, so Paul says, Brett, I've learned to laugh at screw-ups, technical issues to help me laugh a little more. Well, the more you do LinkedIn Live, the more you understand it's an imperfect medium at times, but that's the human condition. It's not what happens to you, it's how it responds. There's a book that's going around here, Stanford professor dying for a paycheck. And I believe the show we're trying to be here is to allow people a safe place that they can express themselves, release some of the stuff that's bubbling up, because people have a tendency to loop things in their mind over and over again. And if you can change the narrative, if you can change the perspective, or just get around people and start to get into them, the more you're into helping others, the less you worry about yourself. Right? When you're self-evolved and involved, it makes it tougher to evolve. Don, you promote community love, transparency, and more. Well, it's what's coming out of everybody's minds and mouths that create the community, the love, and the transparency. And because it's so rare, this becomes an attraction or a magnet. So people are tired of the phony, know better, know they can do better, but are getting tired of the people that are around them, because when people start applauding instead of booing, everything starts changing for the people on the stage. Dean says confrontation to collaboration, transparency. Some things are just upside down. Most people, they need like a closet organizer just to reprioritize and put things in the right order. I mean,
spot on.
Right. I mean, a rocket sits off course 97% of the time without a gyroscope, and every time you got to bring yourself back to center. Here from India, namaste. This is so good by Jasmine. I didn't realize and feel bad for those who are able to function from book, have no common sense, to know real self with emotion from them. And here is the right frog, thoughts and life. And Linda's a great grandmother. She's got so much experience, and she really is here to help and support. Do you have a live show, Brett?
I do. So I a lot less frequent than Donald's, that's for sure. But I go on 3-4 times a month. And what I do is I highlight and have an hour conversation with other elite performers that most of which do not have a banking background. So I try to really present to my network a diverse set of people from different industries, and talk about how they're able to impact others around them as well.
Well, I think that's one of the key elements you just brought up about a show like mine, a show like yours, is what you gain is not just learning or motivation. You get access. You're going to get access to more people through more people. And people today will meet Brett for the first time. People will meet me for the first time. And by serving up more options, by having more choices, no one should be exclusive to anybody in or out, right? You should could share, because there's so much for everybody, and people
There
don't
is.
understand that they should be coming
I
from
mean,
abundance. Go ahead, Brett.
yeah, it's the best. And again, going back to the 70s, when during my formative years, we used to have these things called libraries. And I know a lot of the people watching this knows what a library is. There are still a few today, but these libraries are where you would go to learn something new. LinkedIn and LinkedIn Lives are the modern day library, where you're going to see things. And I know for a fact, I can put my hand on my heart, I know that you've heard things from Donald, from myself, from Paul, from many of the great people. I can't list them all. There's so many here, so many comments today. There are so much knowledge has been shared here that I don't think you can find it in books, in any library, anywhere. So that's the way I view LinkedIn Lives. It's a library where you can go. It's a safe community, as Donald mentioned, but it also is an incredible learning opportunity. And you can, if you're working in a corporate environment, take your headphones with you, take 30 minutes a day, listen to this program, pick something up, and then go back to work. You can do it, or watch the replay, right? So there's so many different opportunities that LinkedIn Live can provide to you.
Well, and I think if you take one's persona, if you take Brett's persona and say, I want to be Brett for an afternoon.
Yep.
Take some of the ideas and thoughts that he shared today and apply them.
Right.
Challenge yourself, because you can always use yesterday tomorrow if you don't like the new today that you have. Here we go with this comment. Time is close. Would like to learn more about your servant leadership. So what's your thoughts on servant leadership, Brett?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's that's what it's all about, right? Is that your job is not to have your team worshiping you and working for you. It's what are you doing to help them realize their potential, right? And period. And that will define whether you're relevant or irrelevant.
Well, and every day you get a chance to if people would do more planning, doing, and reviewing instead of just doing, right?
Yep.
Even some of the top LinkedIn players like Gary V says,
yep,
if you're listening to if you're doing what I told you 2 years ago, 50% of it doesn't apply anymore.
Right.
So, there's so much dynamic change taking place that
spot on.
There was a saying, a formal education will make you a living, a self-education will make you a fortune, right? And and when you graduate college or anything, they have a commencement exercise.
That's right.
The beginning of education, not the end. Linda again says, been a great morning, guys. Thanks for leading us. Have a great day. Be thankful for all the possibilities.
Hey, Donald, keep going. I'm just gonna send a note to one of my clients here and
okay,
just push my next meeting back for a few minutes.
Okay, not a problem. Lillian says, this is my first time seeing Brett. I'm glad I was here. His insights and leadership. And I try so hard to find more and more interesting, diverse individuals with different perspectives from different places and different walks of life with different experience levels. And that's bringing to the picnic. Right. And if everybody says, well, what am I bringing in regards to what am I receiving and sharing? It's the sharing. Paul refers so many people. I mean, Jason referred a lady, Rita, to me yesterday, who is going to be on the show. And it's really getting people their proper exposure, their proper recognition and appreciation, just like the ticker says. Paul says, Lillian, I thought this was the best show. 900 million are missing out. Every show gets better because everybody is getting better together. The audience is so much further ahead than they were a month ago, 2 months ago, a week ago. And now people are just getting right into action with the comments, with the support. I mean, so we're taking an intention, creating a message, and then moving it to a movement. And this is just getting going because you can see by people who are here the first time how appreciative or the value that they've received from a show like this. And tomorrow it starts again. And tomorrow we're going to have Paul here. So Paul's going to have a chance to be here in person. And Paul's been great. Lillian, Linda, I can't thank everybody enough for taking the time, because I know everybody's busy. When people used to tell me, I used to ask them, well, I don't have enough time. I say, how much time don't you got? We all got the same 24 hours. It's what you do with it, what you
Right.
get.
Yeah.
And there's two things one should keep in mind: is there's a return on investment, which is ROI, but there's also COI, which is cost of inaction, right? So,
yeah, and that can be a big number, right? So
absolutely. But anyways, I know we're top hour. I want to be respectful of everybody's schedule. I want to thank everybody for participating. This is the fastest hour on LinkedIn because of the audience really moving the subject, and more importantly, responding to what we're saying here, right? So it wasn't going off into a new thing. It was maybe diving a little deeper where it gets a little rich. Lillian says, oh yeah, Paul's going to be here tomorrow. Paul, I can't wait to hear Paul. And this is a runway for so many people that I'd love to bring people from the audience who are contributing, supporting, giving them the proper recognition, because we're all equal as people. And we all benefit when we help each other. Thanks, guys. Well, there's nothing wrong with the please, thank you, welcome. That's an old-fashioned something that people don't practice enough. How can you hear about your upcoming? Thank you. I've already connected to Brett. Thank you. Well, just go to my profile. Every one of these, and on Brett's too, every one of our LinkedIn Lives is cataloged in our profile, right? You can go back to days.
They're all there. Yep.
All you want. And I know, speaking for myself and Brett, we're open to individuals to reach out to us in a relevant, respectful way if we can help them, right? I mean, this is the beginning of conversations, not the end. And what do you want to make with the opportunity? Jasmine, thank you so much. It was a pleasure seeing you and meeting you. And hopefully this is the beginning of more conversations. So in conclusion, Brett, what's your thoughts you'd like to leave with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I guess what I would close by saying is that view LinkedIn Lives and forums like Donald's forming here as an opportunity to exponentially increase your resourcefulness. That I know that everybody tuning in here are not whiners and moaners, or you wouldn't be here, right? So you obviously want to get better, but view this and use this as a way to extract ideas and apply them immediately to help you be more resourceful with whatever you do. Because go back and watch a replay of this, right? And jot down with a notebook, make your own journal, some of the key concepts, and try some of these things in whatever you're doing, on your job, in your life as well. On your own LinkedIn Live, that would even be better if you talk to Donald about how to get that started up. And then you're going to find that your battery's full. It doesn't need charging anymore. The more resourceful you get, the more high-powered your battery is, and you'll be able to go a lot further in your profession.
Terrific advice. And you know what? I'd love to see people take advantage of what's been talked about and shared today and come back and bring that before and after. I learned this, I applied this, I surprised myself. Now I'm doing this, because more people will rely on third-party validation than first-party direction, right? So if someone says, Sally just listened, did it, and wow, look at Sally, it's like, well, if Sally can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean? Some people think Brett or me have some superpowers, or we're gifted in some ways. But, we all started out the same way, and it's what we did with what we had and how we adjusted to things that we didn't know that makes you the point. It's your survival skills, internally and externally. So Dean says, Brett, the energizing bunny. And that's nice. Brett laughs. Donald and Sir Brett, thanks for the fantastic conversations. Points noted. Great day ahead, and namaste. And final comment is welcome, welcome. Mosen's been a big supporter. I just love how our message transcends boundaries, cultures, languages, because everybody's into kindness, love, and respect. Can't stop yet. Nothing but money is sweeter than honey. Well, it rhymes really well. But with that, I wish everybody a wonderful day. Rest up. We'll see you in 23 hours with Paul, and hope to have Brett on again. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Donald. Thank you, everybody.